This is the Voice of the Land podcast with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
The one that got away. Another NFL opener. Yet another Browns heart-wrenching loss. Since 1999, the Cleveland Browns are now 1-21-1 on opening games. Boy, this one stings. But there are still 16 more. So it's as if it didn't even happen in most other NFL years. Is that how we have to go with it? I don't know. But we will break it all down here tonight on Big Play's Browns postgame show. This is the Voice of the Land. Welcome on in to the show, everyone. Tuning in tonight, I am Kevin Arnold alongside our producer extraordinaire behind that proverbial glass, Peter Telep. And, of course, this is a new era of the Voice of the Land, and we welcome in my new co-host for the entire Brown season, however long it goes, always positive Jay. Jay, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm trying my best to stay positive.
That
was rough, man.
Trying to live up to the name. Rough. Trying to live up to the name, right?
I'll spin this as best I can today.
We will do the best we can to keep it as realistic as we can. There will be overreaction everywhere. We will keep it real, as we always do on the Voice of the Land. We will give you just facts and realistic opinions here tonight. Of course, we are brought to you by Vector Technical, the right person, the right job, the first time, and DP Construction LLC. Reach out to them for all your concrete construction needs. Of course, reach out to them by phone, 330-217-4999, 330-217-4999, or email Tyler LaFrada at tylerlafrada@gmail.com. And we are partnered with LPV Productions along the Big Play Network. You can always find us on Twitter at VTL_pod, on Facebook at Voice of the Land. Find the show on Big Play's Facebook page or YouTube page at Big Play Live. Actually, I think it got switched to at Big Play, so my apologies there. My mind's all over the place already. We're going live as soon as this game ends. It's heartbreaking, but again, 1 of 17, so we will take it from there as we get through all of the heartbreak during this hour-long show tonight. But, of course, you can always find the audio of the show on replay on Google, Spotify, and Apple. Follow Jay at Always Positive Jay. Follow LPV Productions at LPV Productions on all social media platforms, and myself at Kevin and 7, because I at least try to always come through when it matters most. Again, Browns lose the season opener in Kansas City tonight, 33-29, a game they led for most of it, at least up until midway through the fourth quarter. 2 key turnovers and a botched snap on a punt from Jamie Gillen, or attempted punt from Jamie Gillen. The big turning points in the second half that led to the Kansas City comeback. Jay, just as we are going to talk Browns all night long, we may get into some Buckeyes. I don't know how much heartbreak I can discuss tonight.
It was a rough weekend for Cleveland sports.
It was. My only saving grace was soccer, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to. Everybody's here for American football. We're going to keep it right to Cleveland sports, Cleveland football, Cleveland Browns football. Where are you at right now after this loss? Give me as open.
I wanted to win that so bad. I thought we had it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we did not win, and we gave it to them. We beat that team, but costly turnovers really did us in. But it's all right. It's game 1. Think of last year. What happened? How did you feel after that when we got destroyed by the Ravens? We should have beat the best team in the AFC. We just had a few mistakes, and you got to play your A game if you're going to beat the A teams.
Got to play your A game if you're going to beat these teams. You can't have turnovers. You can't have costly penalties. That was a big thing in the first half. Clowney, Garrett, the 2 guys people really wanted to see on this defense playing a big role. They came up big to get the ball back in the hands of the offense with the sack on Mahomes on their last drive. but those offsides penalties, Mahomes with those, that off cadence, hut, getting them offsides, it always seems like Garrett is always involved in those offside penalties. He has, a few games a year where he's so antsy to get off. He wants to read the snap as soon as it hits so he can get off and use that power around the edge.
They're using his aggressiveness against him sometimes.
They are. And that's one of those little things that teams are going to adjust to this year because they know Myles Garrett. They know what his goal is. The goal is to be the defensive player of the year, to lead the league in sacks, to maybe even set a sack record this year, to help the Browns on this quest that they're on this season. Not off to the best of starts this year. Peter, I know you were here in studio watching with Jacob, your son, kind of go through your guys' roller coaster of emotions throughout that game. First half to what we saw in the second half, and yet another way the Browns find a way to lose or lose the opener.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning of the game, I was pretty pumped up for it, and we had the lead, like you said, until about halfway through the fourth quarter. And I told Jacob, I said, I'm not gonna be calm until it's the end of the game. And if it's 2 minutes left in the game, we better have like a multi-score lead, not under 7 points or even under 8 points, because obviously the Chiefs are a great team. The Browns outplayed them. I mean, I think up and down the field, on offense, the Browns I thought they were great. But then, just the turnovers they kind of fell apart a little bit there. And I'm just going to chalk this one up as this to me is the final preseason game. So I'm going to look at us to go 16-0.
I like that. I like that approach. I like that approach a lot.
And the thing that sucks is looking at the other teams in the AFC North. We're going to be at the bottom there because I know the Steelers won and the Bengals won, and Ravens play. Did they play tonight or tomorrow?
I think they play tomorrow night.
They play Monday night.
They play against the Raiders.
Well, I guess I'll be rooting for the Raiders. I'd be rooting for the Raiders anyways because I can't freaking stand the Ravens. But
yeah, it's gonna really suck if all three teams in the AFC North, the other three teams, get a win on opening weekend, and then we lose this one. And my initial reaction is this one actually hurts worse than last year's opener. Jay, tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, they didn't get blown out. That's the bottom line. Last year, they looked like after game one, you were like, oh my God, are we going through this Freddie Kitchens type season again? You didn't know what the coach was or any of this. Like, I was petrified after that game. We bounced back. Stefanski got this team under control, and we went on a nice little run. I'm telling you, it's only game one. I'm not going to overreact. Like Peter said, look at it as a preseason game one. You hung with the best of the best all game long. And then it was a turnover, and it was like a snowball effect. And that once that crowd gets rolling there, man, it's hard to play there for sure.
And we already have comments coming in on Facebook, on Big Play's Facebook page. Drew McDaniel saying, we don't look like we can close down the game. Probably would have gone differently if we were at home. I mean, true, because you have the crowd behind you. When you are on offense, the crowd is going to be quiet. It's going to give you the ability to work. And of course, for some of these guys, and even some of the guys that had an impact last year, and unfortunately, Jedrick Wills going down in the first half, getting injured again in Kansas City, not being able to finish that game, that has got to suck for him. Just, a fluky play, Jarvis scores a touchdown, but as, the blocks are happening, gets his ankle rolled up and has to go in the locker room, get that checked out, not able to come back out for the first half. But as the offense for Kansas City was starting to get on more of a roll and the defense made plays, you really understood the impact a crowd can have and why we all know that even though the Browns are 0-1, First Energy Stadium is going to be absolutely electric next week.
Oh, you better believe it.
The Texans have no idea what crowd noise is yet. Like, all of their first and second year players have no idea what NFL crowd noise is. They're going to get their first taste in First Energy Stadium, and a crowd, a team, a coaching staff, an organization hungry to get that one win on the board, because you don't want one loss.
You do not want to start 0-2. And thank God we're playing the Texans, and I believe they won today, right? Not even sure, but yeah, they're not the Chiefs. They're not even close to being the Chiefs. So let's start off and get 1-1 going.
You got to get one, and you hope it makes them hungry, and it's not like this becomes one of those habits that a team gets into, one of those bad habits where, you can get off to good starts, but you can't close.
Last year, Stefanski proved he doesn't make the same mistakes twice. So I think he's going to really clean up. We got a lot to learn from this game. You learn more from a loss than a win, that's for sure. You
do, and there's a lot on defense that has got to be cleaned up for this team. There's a lot of yards given up. There was off coverage. There's missed tackles.
When your safety goes out and you have to immediately change your entire game plan because he goes out acting foolish, that's going to hurt you a lot.
Which we will get to that, and we will talk about that in the next segment here in just a little bit. But, looking at this, the Chiefs were able to go 9 of 13 on third down. And I know that we all know it's going to take time for this defense to find some sort of rhythm and find maybe the right pieces, the right mix of rotations to really hone in. It took the offense a while last year. They had the advantage of having a bye week midway through. The bye week is 12 or 13 weeks in this year. So it's going to have to happen in game and in practice for this defense. And you can't allow teams to either get away from you or come back on you when your offense may stall for a couple drives. Our offense is going to move the ball. They showed that right off the jump. Now, of course, Kansas City won the toss, but our offense gets to come on the field. And what does this offense do? It shows you why they felt so confident to sit their starters in the preseason and what the second year in the same system can actually look like. It's not allowing one mistake to turn into multiple mistakes. The defense allowed one mistake to turn into multiple mistakes in the first half.
You got to stop the snowball effect before it starts. Immediately, you got to get back down there, score or stop and whatever you got to do. But you can't let mistakes start piling on each other. So once that starts happening, it's in your head, and you got that crowd going like that. That's just a recipe for disaster.
And you can't allow teams to continuously convert on third downs. Of course, the Browns were among the worst in history on fourth downs last year. Kansas City didn't even have to face a fourth down conversion decision or attempt tonight. But they went 9 of 13, almost 70% conversion rate on third downs.
That you want to win games, you cannot have that.
You cannot allow that to be a bad habit. That continues. Jay,
we got to remember, though, this is a new defense, and they did just go against the best offense in the league. And when they needed to stop, they got the stop, and then the offense didn't put it together like they should have.
And it seemed like that was the theme of football in Ohio this weekend. Ohio State, they couldn't get off the field on third down. And then they finally got a stop. And then what happened to the offense?
Our defense today looked a hell of a lot better than Ohio State's defense. Let's just be real.
And two different levels of football. But, it's similar habits. And it just, for us fans of it, what we had to endure this weekend, tough. And there's different changes that have to be made for the college level for Ohio State and at the pro level for the Browns defensively, but it's got to be cleaned up. And the good part about that, though, you brought it up, Jay, this coaching staff doesn't make the same mistakes twice. And Kevin Stefanski is leader of that. Why do you continue to have confidence in this coaching staff to make sure that those little things, and I'm saying I have the same confidence too, but I want you to explain, why do you have that confidence that those little things won't become bad habits that continuously come up early in this season?
These coaching staff, they seem like they really are meticulous. They're very smart people. They work hard, and they're going to, like I said, they proved it all last year. They don't make the same mistakes twice.
They you said it, they don't make the same mistakes twice. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of conversations already in those locker rooms. Like, this is exactly what we have to do. They've heard how Kevin Stefanski, Joe Woods, and this coaching staff presents it last year. Hopefully now it's the players kind of becoming and taking on the voice of the coaches and being able to take care of some of this themselves because they know exactly what it means to be held accountable and to hold themselves accountable moving forward. Now, we do have to hit our first break of the evening. We will continue reacting. Browns do lose the opener to Kansas City, 33-29. Kansas City able to come back in this one. Another opening week loss. We will continue reacting to this. Keep sending your reactions wherever you're watching. We have comments coming in on Facebook, on Twitter. We will get to those on the other side of the break. We will also talk about some of the key plays and what we think was the big play of the game that really went into deciding it. We will get into all of that and more on the other side of our first break here on the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Whether you're looking to hire new talent or start a new career, Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that has helped thousands of job seekers advance in their career with reputable partners throughout Northeastern Ohio. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. With an above-average hire-in rate of 1 in 4 candidates, Vector works hard to connect the right person with the right opportunity the first time. Vector Technical hires for skilled manufacturing and light industrial work and is sure to have a career that you've been looking for. To learn more, visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Land. Kevin Arnold alongside our new co-host, always positive Jay and Peter Tellep. This evening, we are reacting post-game to the Browns' opening season loss, opening week 1 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, 33-29. I think this, out of anything on a national stage under the brightest lights you can at a 425 game, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, they're CBS's key play-by-play and color commentary team. We can talk about them a little bit later as well, but everybody, for the most part, around the country, being able to see this game sees why this is kind of the budding rivalry in the AFC. But the Browns cannot allow Kansas City to dominate this rivalry. They're going to have to find a way, and everybody's hoping that we see this one again in January. But we are getting your reaction as well. Thank you so much for tuning in on Twitter and Facebook. We'll get into some more of those comments here in just a little bit. But Jay, talking about some of these key plays in this game and that kind of went into deciding everything. That first half, it seemed like the offense couldn't do anything wrong.
All the key plays were going good for us, it felt like, the whole first half.
They were going good for us. I mean, you look, first quarter, their first drive, they convert on 4th and 3 to set up their 1st and goal. That third down.
What a gutsy call, by the way.
Gutsy call early in that game. Do you think that shows any sort of confidence level?
I think he has very high confidence in his offense, not as much as he doesn't have confidence in his defense. You can't kick field goals and beat Kansas City. He knows that. If he would have kicked a field goal, I would have been upset straight up.
Would have been totally upset. And it looked like the Browns had the right formula too, because on their opening drive, they go 13 plays, 75 yards, taking almost half of that first quarter clock away from the Chiefs offense. So kind of playing their game, controlling the clock, controlling the pace, going 7 minutes, 7 seconds, finishing off with Nick Chubb, 4-yard touchdown run, his first of the season. You get a second one later. And then the offsides penalty has Kevin Stefanski get aggressive again. I think that's the biggest thing about Kevin Stefanski. He has proven time and time again he is going to be aggressive and always has the right play call for it.
That's for sure. That throw or that play call to Schwartz, the deep pass, if he catches that in stride, that's a touchdown all day. But he called a hell of a game that first half, I have to say that. I would have liked to seen him run the ball a little bit more in the second half, even after that fumble. But all in all, Stefanski had a great game today.
Well, yeah. So Brown's able to get out to that was 22-10 lead at halftime.
I mean, did anybody see that coming?
No, they scored on their first 3 drives. They scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives. They converted in the red zone. They were 4 of 4 tonight in the red zone for touchdowns. They did not settle for field goals. Again, a second-year offense that has confidence in what they're doing.
And they're just going to get better.
They're only going to get better because, there's some nuances that I'm sure and new wrinkles that they still want to bring to this team. And somebody is probably still upset with themselves, even though, was it Nick Chubb had, I think it was 14 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. But what's the one thing he's probably going to focus on in any post-game press conference?
It's that fumble. The fumble turned this game around. You could see it on his face as soon as that happened. He went to that to the bench and he just looked so angry, which I think he felt all our anger.
Felt all our anger, and you're not going to see that. You don't see that often from him. You don't see him, giving up the ball. But that was kind of that first big play of the game, or first kind of momentum swing for Kansas City.
Did they get a field goal out of that or a touchdown?
I believe they got a field goal out of that one because
and then they forced us a 3-and-out, which then the next Jamie Gillen muff punt there.
Jamie Gillen, muff punt, snap comes back. Looked like a good snap. May have taken his eyes off it. I don't know. But then he starts running. I thought he had a chance to get rid of that one. But of course the angles on TV.
He was going to do a little side kick and he just tried to run it.
And again,
maybe it's his rugby player coming out of him.
Right. And the pressure of the game, the impact of the situation, what he may see there versus what you see on TV. I mean, did you think he could have still tried to get rid of it in a rugby fashion after he picked it up?
Who knows? I'm not in that situation. I'm not a punter, you know what I mean? But
right.
Even if he does, how far it would have gone? Maybe it would have been blocked. It's just a bad play. Chalk it up as a loss.
Yeah, chalk that one up as a loss. And then, of course, the end of the game, you finally get Garrett, your main defender, the one that is going.
Garrett and Clowney, they converged right on him.
Yeah. Now, but we were waiting for Garrett's name to be called in the right way all night long. We talked about how offsides, not really making an impact. He was pretty good in the run game against Edwards-Helaire, but it was in those passing situations. Of course,
what they were doing is we were giving such soft coverage. They were just throwing it underneath, which is easy for him because you don't give Myles Garrett any time for a sack.
Right.
And they were just beating us underneath all day long.
Well, and, Patrick Mahomes can't do anything wrong in Jim Nance's and Tony Romo's mind either. If we make a good play,
Tony Romo needs to go away. I've had enough of him.
Is
it Padone, I believe, said he's entering whose territory?
Oh, Joe
Buck territory. I thought it was hilarious.
And again, it just seems like anytime Cleveland gets good at something, there's that other team that is sexier, that brings more of the headlines, brings more of the pizzazz to, what your broadcast can bring to the viewing public. So I get it in a sense, but it's like I'm trying to get into the professional world of broadcasting everything. And we're told, like, if you have an opportunity to call a game, call it as you see it right down the middle. There is no one side or the other.
Call it fair and don't favor one team.
Nowadays, the guys that are kind of established, and what do? They kind of favor one side. That's the Cleveland people in us, though, the Cleveland against the world mentality in us.
Yeah, that's very true.
We're going to hear that more than other people, so I'm not going to dwell on that kind of thing. But, Jay, I do want to ask you, out of those 3 plays, so Garrett gets the sack, then Baker, of course, looked like he may have been trying to throw it away, but not enough on it, still makes the mistake, throws the interception at a key time. That ends the game. He was hit
from behind. If I saw his leg looked like it got clipped.
Yeah, it was either.
As soon as I saw that, it was like I told you guys, it felt like slow motion, and I knew it was coming.
Yeah, he didn't step into that one as he was trying to throw it over the head of Harrison Bryant. But again, you put it in a dangerous spot. Chiefs make a play, the game is over. What is your big play of the game that really determined or may have swung the momentum to what the final result ended up being?
I love you, Nick. You're my boy. But Nick Chubb's fumble was the big play of the game. The momentum started right there, and then the snowball effect started right there. After that, we did nothing positive, more or less, until the Miles sack. Other than that, that's what turns that game around right there.
For me, big play of the game, it's the botch snap on the punt. Because while that fumble did start to swing the momentum, the Browns were able to answer the score of the Chiefs, and they were able to still get that rushing touchdown from Kareem Hunt. The Browns only had 4 plays offensively in the third quarter. One of those 4 plays, the last one, was the 10-yard crossing route to start the 9-play, 75-yard drive that led to the Kareem Hunt 2-yard touchdown run, that 10-yard crossing route to Jarvis Landry. They only had 4 plays. Then they double that with the rest of the 8 plays. They double that within one drive to start. And you're thinking, okay, the momentum's starting to swing, but the Browns have the answer. Let's see if this defense, they found a way to kind of stymie Kansas City a little bit. Let's see if they can build on that. What happens very next play? The throw down, of course, it looked like it was like the game jackpot. I don't know if you ever played that, Jay. No. But growing up, we would always, someone would have like a football or, like some sort of just ball that they'd have in their hand, whatever you could find, even if it was a dodgeball, you just toss it up in the air and you'd call like 500, 200, and whoever caught it, they would get like that many credits.
I've played something like that. We didn't call it jackpot, but yes, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so someone calls out jackpot, and if you get that, then you win the round, and then you get to be the one in charge of who or how many, what value every single throw, just chalking it up in the air, how much that's worth. That looked like a jackpot type throw that John Johnson III ran the same route as Tyreek Hill, but
that would have been my honorable mention for a big play of the game there.
That's why I bring it up, because John Johnson III, we bring him in to be a safety. He read the play well. He just didn't read it. He didn't read the ball in the air, the flight of the ball, as well as Tyreek Hill. Credit to him, makes the big play. So now we're starting to trade scores. Now we're really into 2 good teams trying to be.
That's where it shifted to, where every time they would score, if we would have scored, we'd have the lead, and it really just shifted the game right there, big time. And it got that crowd really roaring. It got
that crowd into it. I forget what they're even calling that stadium. I know it's Arrowhead Stadium, but it's something field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, which is in Missouri, not actually in Kansas. All this, whatever. I could go on and on. Just sounds dumb when you got to read that much for one place. But, then when the botch snap on the punt happens, and they're able to get the ball back at the 15-yard line, you just knew what was going to happen. You knew it. And that's where they were able to take the lead.
It was a big-time backbreaker there for a second.
You give Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and that offense, you give them 15 yards to get a touchdown, more often than not, 9 times out of 10, they're scoring a touchdown. You're not holding them to just a field goal.
No. They're just too good on offense.
And Patrick Mahomes doesn't turn the ball over in September, so that's really not going to happen. The first team to do that, kudos to you. If someone does that this year, you deserve a lot of credit if you're able to turn the Kansas City Chiefs over in the month of September, because there's just
doesn't do it, apparently.
There's just an aura about it. Just like how the Browns seem to lose the opener, the Chiefs don't lose in September. They don't lose a lot anyways, but they don't lose in September. They don't make the key mistakes. The Browns had 2 turnovers. They're on the road. Helps get the crowd into it. You know how many turnovers the Chiefs had again today?
0.
0 turnovers.
I remember earlier when you said, what positives could you take or whatever?
Yeah.
You had, 2 turnovers, a botch punt, and how many did you lose by?
4 points.
Against the best team in the AFC, possibly the NFL.
But
you were right there.
But a game that you also controlled for the most part. That you gave away. It's backbreaking, but it can't be season altering.
When you're a young team, you can't let this bring you down. You
Right.
have to learn from it and make it drive you even harder to work hard.
And in the years the Browns didn't have much talent, and we went through all of the mediocrity and crap since 1999 before Kevin Stefanski and this organization came in. That backbreaking loss in the opener, even if you saw them feel like they were about to win and take the jaws of victory from the grasp of defeat, they would just give it away. This team can't do that because as talented as it is, you can't allow the mental side of the game to wear on you to the point of, oh, well, we're leading in this game. Is something going to happen? Is something going to happen? And that's not the culture they have anymore. But those are where one season of greatness with an off season of hype can turn into either a season of much higher levels of greatness, possible championships, or can turn into woe is me, same old Cleveland. We want the high level of greatness and championships. And I think that's the culture that is in this town. And that's what gives you the confidence and has us, I guess, even keel to say we're not yelling, we're not upset about the loss, but we're disappointed.
And you got leaders like Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, even Kareem Hunt. They're not going to let that happen. They won't let that happen. They're too good and they're awesome leaders. They're going to get this team going. We're going to bounce back next year. And I expect us to just literally stomp the Houston Texans next week.
That's what needs to happen. And you know the city of Cleveland will bring the energy to First Energy Stadium.
I'll be bringing
week.
it. I'll be bringing it.
Jay will be in tow. He has his season tickets. He will be there for week one and week one of the home schedule, which is 9 games this year too. So let's take advantage of home field and make sure that all of the little mistakes that can be corrected are corrected and we take things to another level. We will talk a little bit about that game in the last segment here. On the other side, a key inactive for the Browns tonight that may have been able to help extend some plays, some drives for the Browns, may have not. We'll talk about OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. on the other side of this break. And of course, get to more of your comments. I promise we will get to them. They are flying in on Facebook. I will get to those at the start of the next segment. But if you want some of your Voice of the Land gear, and we'll have to get Jay's face on some of the gear as well now because
I don't know if they want that.
This isn't a 1 week thing like in the past with Always Positive Jay. This is for the next several months and possibly longer. We'll talk about that moving forward as well, but we'll have to get his stuff on there. If you still want Paulus's face on some of the Voice of the Land gear, for right now, we have exactly where you can get it during this break. This is the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you struggling to hire the right talent or maybe even find the right career? Vector Technical makes it easy. Since 1992, Vector has provided Ohio employers with a reliable process for hiring and have helped thousands of job seekers advance in their careers. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. We invest time to get to know each client and candidate personally. Vector places people in job opportunities that they are truly excited about. Interested in learning more? Visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com to see a full list of our current job opportunities and to find out what Vector Technical can offer you.
Get your gear at voiceoftheland.com/shop.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Land here on the Big Play Network. Browns post-game coverage here on the Big Play Network. Kevin Arnold, Always Positive Jay, and Peter Tulloch alongside you. And Peter, I haven't kind of asked you, what was your big play of the game. We talked about several of them. I know, Jay, yours was the Chubb fumble. Mine was the Gillen snap, giving Kansas City that short field, able to take the lead on that touchdown. Where was the difference in this game? Because we know the NFL comes down to one or two plays when it's decided in such a close manner.
I think it was really the combination of the two. Just, happening as close as they did, the Chubb fumble that we should have been able to bounce back from. But I think, you compound that with the bumbled snap or punt, however you want to call that. And that it was just
a massive momentum shift.
Yeah, it was a big momentum shift. It was letting that, I think that got into the players' heads. It really, like I think Jay said, and the crowd got the crowd into it. That crowd was quiet.
Baker shut them up that first half. And they came out the second half and they made the right adjustments big time.
Yeah. And if we would have been able to trade blows with them, I think we really should have won this game. It's a weird feeling because we didn't get blown out like last year's opener. This is, one of the best, if not the best team it's probably the best team in the AFC, if not the best team in the NFL. And we should have won it. And yeah, we made mistakes, and I think Stefanski's going to get, that stuff corrected. And, leading into our conversation here, we have some, weapons that weren't in there today.
Yeah. Now, I mean, some of the comments coming in on Facebook too about some of the plays we talked about. Drew McDaniel also, chiming in again, saying, of course, Tyrod Taylor, Texans QB right now. So, or Tyrod Taylor, however you're supposed to say it.
It's Tyrod.
Saying we should be able to take them. Third down in the second half. Those were going Chiefs' way. Terrence Spencer chiming in with that. And then Michael Hill saying that defensive line actually did look good. The secondary needs to contain much better, especially on third down. It seemed like they were playing
very soft. They were afraid to get beat deep. And they just gave everything underneath. And they just dink and dunked us to death, except for that huge one from Tyreek. I mean,
and there's playing off coverage and soft coverage and not getting beat deep and being afraid to not get beat deep. But once you get into the red zone, besides that big bomb from Mahomes to Tyreek Hill that ended up getting beat deep, even though John Johnson III had pretty decent coverage there, just Hill read the ball in the air a lot better. Again, kudos to him. Once you get in the red zone, it's got to tighten up. And it just seemed like the misdirection and some of the motion that the Chiefs have always done, they were still playing off coverage down there close to the end zone. And you dump it off to Kelsey or Tyreek Hill, and they're right there. They're getting into the end zone or making a big play to set up 1st and goal at 3. And then very next play, Kelsey's going in. At some point, the coverage has got to get a little, get tighter. You got to be able to play some press at some point on the field. If you're going to keep everything in front of you and be a bend, don't break, but you can't break and allow them to score a touchdown. That part I didn't understand, but again,
I mean, what defense has ever stopped this offense? Outside that Super Bowl last year when their 2 tackles were out and they just couldn't protect Mahomes. No defensive yet they've figured out how to stop them.
Yeah, and this team already winning a Super Bowl and then losing one last year, they're not going to have that second place hangover that you see from some teams that just get in that one year and you kind of forget about them because then they don't have a very good year the next year. They have a hunger because they've all tasted the ultimate success. They had a chance and they let it slip away last year. They are motivated to get there. Yes, the Browns had a little taste of some success last year. They don't know what it means to get to the mountaintop, but you still got to have a little bit more sense of urgency and will to get there. Michael Hill also saying definitely made a statement in the first half, but got to work on finishing. So finishing is going to be the big thing for this team in bigger games.
That's what I want to see Baker work on the most.
You got to finish against the good teams. You can beat the Texans of the world all you want, and if they're able to get to 1-1, you still got to get to 1-1. So because I'm pretty sure Houston won today. So they're 1-0. They're feeling pretty good in their locker room. You win one in the NFL. What do you want to do? You want to win another. Whereas Jacksonville won their first one last year too, and then went off and lost all the rest of them. But you got to take care of business against the bad teams, but you got to finish against the good teams. And I think that's really the next step for this organization. Now, someone that may be able to help them finish, Jay, you were talking about this in the break, Odell Beckham Jr., who we've seen videos of. He looks like he's back. He looks like his old self, but he was inactive today. Do you think, you asked me the question, do you think he makes that play with
the one with Schwartz?
With Schwartz.
When he went up and the guy knocked it out of his. Yes, I do think he makes that play. He's got some of the best hands in the NFL, and he's not a young rookie like Schwartz. So I'm not going to blame Schwartz today because he had a hell of a game. But yeah, I think Odell makes that play right there, big time. But I'm not upset that they sat him because we got 17 games this year. We're trying to make a playoff run. Let's not rush him back. We'll ease him into things, and we'll have him when we make a nice playoff run.
And I understand them sitting him. That's not something or a decision I'm going to, hit them for or anything like that, because how I understand it, as the game was getting started, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were talking about it on the broadcast. Kevin Stefanski said all week it was going to come down to 90 minutes before, like they were going to let 90 minutes before when the inactive and active list came out. I guess he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look fluid in his movements, and he just recently started, kind of getting contact in practice and going 11 on 11. And from all accounts, from all the beat reporters, he's looked great. But Peter, is he really that one piece that this offense is missing when it comes to finishing in these big games or being able to make that big play when it counts? Or is it just a matter of they need to execute better when those moments present themselves?
I think they need to execute better. I think having, Odell in there will obviously help because it's just another weapon at our disposal.
Odell could put the fear into a defense.
Well, he can't, and the defense has to cover him, but you got Schwartz, that guy is fast.
He is
like crazy fast. And, the thing is, if we don't get out of our own heads and, tighten things up, it's not going to matter if he's there or not. I'm still feeling as much as it sucks that we lost, I still feel a lot better about this team than I did after week 1 last year.
Oh, I totally agree on that one.
But I want to read one comment. This was not put on our page. I'm going to yell at my friend here for not posting this, but my friend Melissa Sabo, so I'm calling her out. She says, all I'm saying is if things don't work out between Mahomes and his fiance, Romo will say yes to Mahomes.
It's very true.
It's very true. And I couldn't have said that better. So
that's a good one.
He might have a little bit of a man crush on Mahomes. Just a scotch.
Just a scotch.
Just like everybody had a man crush on Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Just like everybody has I don't even know. Is there a man crush in the game of baseball? Was it Kyle Schwarber for Joe Buck?
Oh, God.
Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber.
Yeah, that's who Joe Buck would say.
Bring
yes
up
to.
all the bad nightmares.
Hey man, it's never a good Sunday once NFL season starts and the Browns lose.
Oh, I told you I had to get all my swearing and anger out of me on the ride here. Like I was as upset as can be, but you got to get over it. It's just week 1, man.
Yeah, you do. And I think week 1 last year, I think that's why there's not a lot of angst or, overreaction Sunday night into Monday, hitting some sort of panic button about this. Of course, you don't want to see your quarterback throwing the ball away at the end. He is trying to throw it away to, live for another down. But, it's something where, does he need to step up sooner in the pocket? Does he need to feel that pressure behind him a little bit more? It's those moments. Of course, it's going to be used by all of the pundits out there that have always used everything against him, but it's still a question. Can you come through in the big moments? He has some comebacks in him.
He's had some. He needs to do it in some big games.
He's got to do it when the lights are brightest.
I mean, when we punted at the end there before, did you think we were going to stop Mahomes? No. I was like, I didn't even want him to punt. I was like, you can't stop him. The dude's unreal good. And then we did. Baker needs to get to that point. Well, when you know he's going to go on the field and you need one last drive, you have 100% confidence that he's going to pull through. And I want the opposing fans and the teams to feel that too. He's going to get there. He's still young.
He's still
He
young.
had a hell of a game. Made one bad throw.
I mean, you look at his...
And he was hit on it.
Yeah, he was hit on it. You look at his line, 21 of 28, 75% completion percentage, 300...
With his left tackle going out early again.
Left tackle going out. Luckily, Chris Hubbard is back from injury this year, so you have another guy that has a little bit of chemistry along that offensive line, knows the guys, has good communication with them, but in a different spot than where they used them last year. Kind of, that Swiss Army knife, that utility player for that offensive line. And you got Coach Bill Callahan. You're always going to have a good offensive line. Baker also had 321 yards through the air. Now, he didn't have a touchdown. So now his touchdown ratio, if you only look at that as the only stat, it's 0-1 touchdowns, interceptions. You know who's going to look at that. Those people don't matter. What matters is this city. What matters is this football team making sure that one loss and the little mistakes, as we said before, don't become snowball effect. Don't get compounded with more similar mistakes moving forward. They haven't shown they've done that in the past, and we don't expect them to do it moving forward. But it's still got to be said, you can't do that moving forward.
If you want to be elite, you have to play 4 quarters of perfect football to beat those elite teams, especially when it comes to playoffs.
Yep.
Like, let this be a lesson for them.
Yep. And you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. But we will talk about what they talked about after the game. We have one final segment, and we will look ahead to the Houston Texans. Is it a must-win situation already for the Browns in this 17-game season in what we hope is still a special year for the Browns? We will talk about all of that and get to as many comments as we can on the other side of this break. Of course, you are tuned in, listening, and watching the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you looking for a career in manufacturing? Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that is partnered with some of the biggest and the best companies throughout Northeastern Ohio. The recruiters at Vector Technical will coach you through the entire job process and will help you land an opportunity that you are truly excited about. Vector does not add any additional fees and offers benefits as well as free online skills training through Penn Foster. To learn more, visit www.vectortechnicalinc.com and make sure to check out our job board to see a full list of our current opportunities and apply.
Oh man, the conversations in the break really are awesome sometimes and can bring a smile to your face.
The show behind the show.
The show behind the show. Jay was talking about how, because we pull back the curtain on the show. We don't try to.
Of course, why not?
We don't leave things in the break. We don't, of course, if there's any words flying around that should not be on air, we don't air those. And I'm sure Jay has been holding back on some of those today.
Yes, I have.
But Jay, you posted the tweet earlier for your
my
pregame
hard
analysis.
analyst. If you're going to win the game today, you had to score more points than the Chiefs. I mean,
that was their key to the game, right? It was the key to the game, right?
It was the key to the game.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest key, they didn't come through.
I give you the hard analyst here. Like, I come with the real stuff.
Hey, the Voice of the Land is where you gotta go now, especially with always positive Jay on the show, Kevin Arnold, of course, and Peter Telep also here with you. And we said we wanted to get to some of the quotes. Now, we were talking about Odell before the break, and Stefanski said it was actually 50-50 he would play. And this is courtesy of Jake Trotter on Twitter. Apparently, after going through that warm-up cycle we talked, they were analyzing. He told Stefanski he wasn't feeling like he could have the impact that he knows that he can have at 100%. So, but Stefanski did say it's still possible he plays in week 2. So that's still good to hear.
Well, an athlete like him, he knows his body better than any doctor can even tell him. And if he wasn't ready to go, it's brave of him to actually do that. I commend him on doing that. It's not, trust me, you don't think he wants to play against them? He wanted to play.
He wanted to play because he saw what happened last year. He knows what he could have done to help in that playoff game the way it went last year. And another opportunity to play against them, goes by the wayside. But
He's looking at the big picture.
This is a marathon, people. This isn't a sprint. So if you are distraught tonight, I understand, because this one stings. That's what Baker said too. I think I posted it out there. So everybody's kind of saying that.
Everyone just crack a cold one tonight, and tomorrow you're allowed 24 hours, as they say. And then we're on to Houston.
We are on to Houston. And I think the 24-hour rule is important. It's probably going to sting tonight. It's going to sting at work tomorrow. Mondays already suck as they are. If you've ever seen Office Space, we're all going to have a case of the Mondays and then some on the Browns, after the Browns lose on a Sunday.
Now, when they lose, do you ignore Sports Center and all
I was
that
just
stuff?
about to give the advice to the people.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't listen to any radio. I don't listen to Sports Center. I give myself 24 hours away from the sports to calm down, relax.
See, I might listen to a little sports talk because I'm trying to, trying to hear some of the other realistic takes out there and how people are coming at it from different angles, because some people may blame Baker, but why do they blame Baker after such a great game and then that one big interception?
Baker had a part. Nick Chubb had a part. Jamie Gillen had a part. The whole team had a part. You win as a team, you lose as a team.
Yeah. But Baker said it. A lot of people said it. It stings. Give yourself 24 hours. Know that there is 16 games still left. Not 15, 16. We are in a 18-week.
Was our goal to win week 1?
No.
Or was our goal to go far in the playoffs?
So I'll pose this scenario to people. You win week 1, you get that win over Kansas City. But you have a good enough year to get you to the playoffs, and you meet Kansas City again and you don't get it done. Do you feel like it was a successful season because you won week 1 against them?
Absolutely not.
No. So they have a lot of work to do in order to be a team that can get back to that point, because every year is different. But we all know that, winning week 1 isn't the end all be all. It can definitely invigorate a locker room, and you see teams that aren't supposed to be good having an outlandish year because they won week 1, because one win turned into 2, turned into 3. Like Jarvis said about the bad culture and the injuries and people staying out of the lineup or nursing an injury just because they didn't want to put their body on the line for a team that sucked.
It's contagious.
It's contagious. In the NFL, winning week to week is contagious. This team needs to feel that first taste, and they need to feel it next week. Baker also saying, according to Nate Ulrich, it was very frustrating. You have to play, as you said, Jay, a full 4 quarters. And they're all talking about how they couldn't finish. How do they make sure that, next week, we know that the Texans aren't supposed to be a good team, but you can talk about that and get that in your head.
Can't overlook them.
Can't overlook them because they're professionals. How do they make sure that what they say turns into what they do next week?
You're just going to have to work hard and do, like Baker, they all say that you got to do your job. You just got to do your job. You got to execute when you're out there.
Well, you got to execute and you got to be accountable. Perfect example. 92.3 The Fan, at 92.3 The Fan on Twitter. Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry on Baker Mayfield, who I know some will still blame for this loss solely only on Baker, not the team. Jarvis says, quote, "He is the leader of our team. He spoke in the locker room after the game. He played well today. I know he's going to try to find ways to fix the things that went wrong today, as we all should. It's a team game."
I said you win and you lose as a team.
And that's
it's never on one person.
Nick Chubb holding himself accountable. taking responsibility for the fumble. And
You got to take ownership, like you said.
And they're getting out in front of it. They're being requested by the media to be talked to, and they're not avoiding the conversation. They're not, these diva players that you see all the time, like no comment, next question, whatever.
I don't see these guys as people that this is going to like stop them from getting better. This is going to make them better. This is going to drive them.
And there's
they're
no
pissed off for greatness. And
there's no egos. Like there's nobody saying, like looking at Baker on that team thinking, oh, there he goes again, throwing, man, this is the weak link. Why am I putting my body in the line for this guy? I'm so good. That's not the case. They're hearing one person take so much blame. They're like, hey, I had a key fumble in the game. Like, I take blame for that. That allowed them to get back in the game. Hey, I couldn't catch the snap on that punt. I need to be better. I only got one opportunity to punt, which is a good thing because our offense is having success, but I got to be mentally engaged in the game. And when my time to change field position, I need to go out there and execute. I didn't. Hey, I threw that last interception. I don't care if I was getting tripped or anything. I gave them the game away. We had a drive going. I let it slip. All of these guys start talking about that. Then it becomes, well, what do you do to make sure that doesn't happen again? They each look themselves in the mirror and each other in the eyes in the locker room, which it is a brotherhood. They all look at each other and say, and go to work. What does Kevin Stefanski say all the time? What word is in Berea?
Work.
Jay, what is the key this week to getting a victory against the Houston Texans in their home opener at 1 p.m. by 4 o'clock on Sunday? What is the key to putting the number 1 in the win column this NFL season?
They're going to have to clean up their mistakes, for one, and they're going to have to just play their game. Don't go and play someone else's game. You got to play your game. And you just can't play down to your competition either. Don't overlook them, but don't play down to them either. I want to, like I said, you just got to put a stomping on the team and tell everyone you're pissed off about last week. We're coming for the rest of you all year long.
And you know what? You know what's one thing we forgot to even mention? What they can't do? They can't let the other team get in their head. Ronnie Harrison being ejected, no matter what happened to transpire that. The broadcast team was completely wrong that Ronnie Harrison instigated that fight.
Well, if you've seen it, the original flag was on Kansas City.
Correct.
If he doesn't retaliate back, because that's who you always see. It's not usually the antagonizer. It's the person reacting. He reacted, and then they switched around because it could be replayed if you're flagged.
And the broadcast team was saying that he stepped on the Kansas City player, and that's
why
I
don't think he was stepping on him. I think he was trying to walk over him, and a guy bumped him at the same time.
And I am not giving any sort of credence to what Ronnie Harrison did. Ronnie Harrison should have been ejected because he pushed a coach on the other side.
When the coach pushed him, you know what you do? You flop. You act like he pushed you so hard you fall back, and you're like, oh, my God, look what he do to me. You don't push back.
Right.
You have to be bigger in that moment.
You as tough as it is, like, it's so easy to sit here behind a microphone when the emotions are so high and week 1 is going to say you got to hold back.
Very physical sport, I get it, but that's a coach. You can't touch him. It's just like a ref. You can't touch him.
You can't touch him. The problem is I am not condoning anything that Ronnie Harrison did. He got kicked out. He suffered the consequence of his actions. But why is there no consequence? If New York is already buzzing the referees after they made the call on Kansas City to switch it to the Browns, why are they not seeing what actually happened and telling the referees?
Why wasn't it offsetting?
Correct.
That's what I didn't understand.
Why was the coach not kicked out? The coach, there is a sideline infraction. They are not supposed to cross a certain point on that sideline and interfere with what is going on between the players, even if the player action kind of spills into that area. They shouldn't be putting their hands on the players. Guess what? If you want to be putting your hands on the player, you better put your helmet and pads on and go out there and play for the team. If you want to get knocked around a little bit and you want to knock some guys around, go out there and put the pads on. Otherwise, stick to the headset, stay away, and then suffer the consequences if it's going to happen.
Is that one of those calls because it's the home team? Because I have no explanation
know.
for that one.
I mean, and again, it's not what determined the game.
No, it didn't determine the game.
But that's a little thing for the NFL. We talk about the little things the Browns have to clean up. It's these little things in these gray areas of all the rules that the NFL there's just questions all the time. There's question marks all the time. The college game, they got to figure out what's targeting and what's not. Again, not a play that determined the game for the Buckeyes either. That they put themselves in position to lose that game. But, what we're trained to see as targeting, then it's not another time when it looks exactly the same
or worse.
There's got to be they have a lot of inconsistencies to clean up. The Browns have inconsistencies they've got to clean up. A lot of people got to hold themselves accountable and fix a lot. Jay, final thoughts on this one. So that kind of our 1 hour, we're putting 24 hours ourselves into one to get through this. We'll have our own time throughout our work days tomorrow to actually go through the 24 hours. But in terms of our Voice of the Land family, your final thoughts to wrap this up, to really move on to Houston.
Well, the nice thing is we are playing Houston next week, and I do see a W coming from this, but let's just not overreact. It's game one. We'll be fine. We're going to go on a nice little run here, and everything will be back to normal and good to go.
Peter, final thoughts.
I don't think I could have said it any better, honestly. I think, it was everyone knew this was going to be a hard game. I mean, as soon as we saw the schedule come out, we knew that this was going to be a tough one. And the way we played, there's some things we need to clean up, but I'm really impressed with how the Browns did. And I think, I don't think there's many teams that are really going to give us the problems that we had today.
Tyrod Taylor and Patrick Mahomes are quite different. Let me
just
tell you,
a
little bit.
Yeah, not as many arm angles coming from Tyrod Taylor as Patrick Mahomes. If I have to hear people like yell and scream about how many different arm angles, yeah, it's great. Like, it's fun to see, and when you're not playing against Kansas City, it's fun to see. He
still eats his steak with the ketchup.
Yeah,
come on, arm angle schmangle.
Put ketchup on everything. I put ketchup on some things that maybe other people wouldn't, but not everything. Maybe I put A1 steak sauce on too many things, but that might be my Patrick Mahomes ketchup issue there. But that's a topic for another day when we can have a little bit more fun. We need to get all of this out. And Jay, you said it. You gotta put this one behind you. You gotta move on. And just know that there are 16 games left. But it all starts next week. If you really think that 1 week doesn't matter and you're going to prove that and you are going to be a great team this year, next week should be a win, and we should be having a lot more fun on the Voice of the Land next week for week 2 of the new era of the Voice of the Land. Ain't that right, Jay?
That is correct.
And I'm sure Jay will give us all of the inner workings of what's going on in the stands next week as well. So we will have a unique perspective on the show next week. But I do want to thank Always Positive Jay for coming in tonight and joining us during this Browns season.
I wish it would have been a little more fun. I'd love to have the first show a W, but we'll get that one next week.
A little bit more. Yeah, we'd love to have a little bit more fun, be a little bit more joyous, but man, that hour flew by for week 1, and we're just going to keep getting better. Call-in line coming soon, so we don't have to just read comments. We can get you on the phone, and we already know that there will be words probably dropped that we can't actually hit a dump button for, but we do ask if once we get to that point, we all stay civil, we all stay realistic, and keep things.
I didn't swear today. You guys cannot swear on the calls next week.
We keep things in perspective here on the Voice of the Land. So for Always Positive Jay and our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tullup, I'm Kevin Arnold, reminding all of you sports fans and Browns fans, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game, but keep things in perspective. And we love you all 3,000. We will see you all next week at 7 p.m. after the Browns and Houston Texans in week 2. This has been the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.